Okay, now we're going to cover part 2 of the process of obtaining your Merchant Marine credential. You heard me talk about TWIC earlier. We're going to go look at that now, and that's at the TSA website, Transportation Security Administration. We're going to look at the TWIC, Transportation Workers Identification Credential. Now, okay, the TWIC card, required for all U.S. credentialed mariners. And this is what it looks like right here. It's got this little gold chip that can be read by a card reader, and that has all kinds of personal information on that little chip about you. And it has your photograph on it. Now, the reason they started doing this was, of course, more security measures after 9/11. What the process used to be was, when you came into the Coast Guard office in Toledo, I would fingerprint you and take your photograph, and we would do the background check. Well, that's been changed now to where the Transportation Security Administration does that, and then they share that information with the Coast Guard. So when you go in to apply for a TWIC card, you want to be sure and tell them that it's for the Merchant Marine credential. And the reason being, if you don't, they won't share that information in their computers with the Coast Guard computers. So even though you have a TWIC, when the Coast Guard brings you up in their computer, it will look like you don't. If they share the information, it will show that you do have one, and it will have your photograph, your height, your weight, and all that information there. So you don't. That's why you don't have to send a photograph to the Coast Guard anymore. Now, TSA website, as I said, they're the ones that take care of it now, and they have TWIC offices around the country. They used to have, they were supposed to have a lot more of them than what they actually do. Now, if you search by state, we'll go to Michigan, since it's up on the Great Lakes where I used to work. They have several of them: Detroit, Escanaba, Marquette, Sault Ste. Marie, Traverse City, because there's a lot of shipping ports up there. Well, since they don't have as many of these as they originally said they were going to, I had a client when I was doing consulting who lived in Colorado, and he needed to get the TWIC card. Well, there is no shipping ports in Colorado, so there's no office in Colorado. This guy had to fly to San Diego, California to get his TWIC card. And the worst part about this whole process is you have to pre-enroll right here. You do a pre-enrollment, and the TSA, I think probably due to funding, they didn't open as many of these offices as they originally had planned on it. They probably will be eventually, because everyone has to have one of these cards if they have access to what's known as a secure facility. And what the Department of Homeland Security has deemed a secure facility are many different things. Shipping ports being number one, that's why obviously all the mariners have to have it. The second one is going to be the people that work in those places, such as your stevedores, longshoremen, and railroad people that go into these places. Truck drivers are going to have it eventually. If you carry hazardous material and you're loading gasoline at a refinery to take to the local gas station, you're going to have a TWIC card, because the refinery is basically considered a secure facility, and a potential terrorist target is what they consider all of these secure facilities. So they're going to put more of these around, I think, depending on how they do with their funding and the way the government's spending money. Who knows? It's anybody's guess. But at any rate, like I said, if you live in a state that's around shipping areas, there's a few of them around. Ohio, for example, on the Great Lakes, got Ashtabula, Cleveland, Sandusky, and Toledo. If you live on the West Coast, East Coast, California, New York, Massachusetts, you got them up and down the East Coast and West Coast, Boston. There's only 2 of them in Massachusetts. I would think there would be more of them up there. California has quite a few because they have a lot of shipping ports out there in that state. Same way with Texas and the Gulf of Mexico, there's a lot of them. So you will pre-enroll right here first. Then, when you get done, you're going to click here, apply for a TWIC. You will have an appointment set up to go to the office. When you go down there, you will take your birth certificate for proof of citizenship. You will take a driver's license or a state ID for a photo ID, and take your social security card. Basically take as many credentials as you can, because it's better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them, because like I said, you will have to go in person. You'll fill these fields in: your name, first name, last name, your social security number or alien registration number. If you're a non-citizen and you have a permanent resident card, then that's the number you'll put in here. Visa number: if you're here on a work visa from another country, you'll put that in here. Your date of birth and the country of birth. And this too, you can just hit U, brings up United States. And you can also do it by the drop down. And then if you pick United States, you'll have to pick the state you live in, Nevada. Then you put this little CAPTCHA code in this box here and you submit. So let's do that. Oh, I didn't fill all this in, so I won't be able to. But at any rate, this is a pre-enrollment. After you have pre-enrolled, then you will contact them at this number here on their main page. Go up here to contact us, and there is the help desk number, DHS-TWIC 866-347-8942. So when you're at the TWIC office, what they'll do is they will photograph you, they'll fingerprint you, and they'll do the basic background check and give that information to the Coast Guard. Now, another bad thing about this is when your card is approved and issued, they will not mail it to you, so you have to go back in person to pick it up. So you got to go down there first to apply. After you do the pre-enrollment, then you wait till they notify you that you're approved, and you have to go back in person to pick it up. Now, the government doesn't do anything for free, as you're probably well aware, so you're going to have to pay for this one. And let's see, how much does the TWIC cost? How about $132.50 to get this card? And that's in addition to the $140 you have to pay the Coast Guard for your Merchant Marine credential. This is a separate deal with TSA. So it's going to cost you $132.50. And this too is only valid for 5 years, just like your Merchant Marine credential. So you will have to renew it after 5 years. So that is the TWIC card. And that is why you have to have it. Now, another note I want to make right now is you cannot get a Merchant Marine credential if you don't have a TWIC. So you want to apply for the TWIC first, and then you can go ahead and apply for the Merchant Marine credential, because they will not issue it without you having a TWIC card. Okay, so now we're done with the TWIC. When you mail your fees in with your Coast Guard application, you can either mail a check or a money order for $140, or you can pay it online at this website here, and we'll go there and I'll show you how to do that. And that is called pay.gov. Let me find it here. Hang on just a second. Alright, we're at the pay.gov website. This site is in my opinion, a terrible website. It is not very user friendly, and it's hard to find your way around. You look at this page and you don't even know where to start. So first of all, we're going to search over here by agency name. Now you would think that it would be under C for Coast Guard. Wrong. It's under D for Department of Homeland Security, because that's what the Coast Guard is under now. So you go to Department of Homeland Security right here on the D page, and then you have the United States Coast Guard. U.S. Coast Guard Merchant Marine User Fee Payment. Now you can pay this with a credit card, a debit card, or a checking account. This page here has just got a bunch of abbreviations or descriptions. You can read it if you want. You'll fill out this form here. You're going to put your first name in there, Joe Smith. Don't need the middle, S-M-I-T-H. You need an address, 123 Main Street. And since I'm going to use my zip code, I'm going to actually put my city in here, which is Port Charlotte. I live on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Oops. Port Charlotte. And state is Florida. Zip code 33948. You don't have to put a telephone number in there. There's no little red asterisk like right there. You do have to put your social in there. Now you don't put the dashes in here. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't have to put company name. You do have to put where you're going to send your application, and we're going to discuss that a little bit later. There are only 17 places that you can send your application, and that is the regional exam centers that I talked about earlier. You have it in Anchorage, Baltimore, Boston, Charleston, etc. Toledo is a good office to send it to. I would highly recommend you stay away from Miami, Florida. Miami is a very busy office, and they process a lot of paperwork, and it takes them a long time to do it. They're very, very slow. So I would avoid Miami at all costs. Do not mail your application there. They probably won't like me saying that, but I don't much care because I've dealt with them enough times to know how they operate. Toledo is a very good one to send it to. You can send it to St. Louis. Seattle is another real good one. Portland is good. New Orleans is good. Memphis is good. Houston is another good one. Charleston, South Carolina is a good one. I would avoid Boston and Baltimore. Okay, so now where are we going to send it? We're going to send it to Toledo. We got everything filled out. Okay, what are we doing? Original Merchant Marine credential right here. Notice this one says with officer endorsements. You do not have any officer endorsements. So you're going to put a check mark there, $95. Remember I told you it was $140 for the original credential. So we're going to put the evaluation fee right here is $95, and we'll continue. On this page here, these are for exams. If you're doing any kind of testing, those don't apply to you. You will pay an issuance fee, $45, and then we'll continue. There's your total fees, $95 eval, $45 issuance, for the total of $140. Then you click continue. It'll process it. At this point here, you can put in a debit card. You can use Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, or you can actually use a checking account. You just put your personal checking account information in here, your bank routing number, your account number, the check number, and it's got the amount, 95 evaluation, 45 issuance, and you click on continue with this payment here. I'm not going to do it because I didn't fill anything in here, so it won't let me go any farther. You'll get a receipt page will come up. When that does, print that twice. Keep one for your records. Put the other one in with your application when you mail it to the Coast Guard so they can see that you paid your fees. and that's where you pay your fees online. The other easier option, in my opinion, is simply to write a check or get a money order for $140 and mail it in with your application. But it's entirely up to you, however you want to do it. Now remember, I said all these links are important, and you'll have them. They're on my website. I think I showed you that. Actually, they're on the website where you download the video from. This one here. Right down here are every one of them. I have to put that other drug test one on here yet, but I will take care of doing that. I only got the AAMRO. I got to put the MROCC on there. And we got a lot of job websites we're going to go through yet. And we're going to go through this regional exam center next, where you mail your application. You got it all filled out. You got your TWIC. You got your receipts. You got your check made out. You got your application done. You got your physical done. You got your drug test. Now what do you do with them? You mail them to the regional exam center. And you can find 17 of them in the United States. As I said, Seattle, Portland, Oakland, LA, Long Beach. Got 2 of them in Alaska, Juneau and Anchorage, Honolulu, Houston, New Orleans, Miami, avoid, Charleston, South Carolina, Memphis is okay, St. Louis is good, Toledo is good. You got Boston, I would avoid, New York City, I would avoid, and Baltimore. I would avoid those. You can mail it to any of the other ones that you want to. Now you get to a particular one, say you're going to send it to Toledo, click on that, it will bring up the address. And there's the mailing address where I used to work, 420 Madison Avenue, Toledo, Ohio. They got a phone number, and they will process your application and your fees, enter them into the computer, then they will send your complete package down to the National Maritime Center. Right here. That's the center they built outside of Washington, where they will evaluate your file and issue your credential. Now they will mail it to you. You don't have to go pick it up. They will mail it right out to the address that you put on your application. So whatever you put on your application, make sure that's where you want your card to go, and that's the address you want on your credential, because that's where it's going to go to. Alright, that's going to conclude part 2 of the video. In part 3, we're going to cover the STCW that I mentioned, and I'll tell you what that's all about. We're going to go to the Homeport, Coast Guard Homeport website, and I'll show you why. And again, we're going to go back to the National Maritime website, and I'll show you why we're going to use that one and why that one's important. And we covered paying your fee online. We covered the TWIC. So that will be the conclusion for part 2.